Well, staying in Washington, D.C., now that Democrats are set to take control of the U.S. Senate, House, and the White House, it's setting the stage for those $2,000 stimulus checks, but taxes for the wealthy as well. Here to discuss is Bloomberg personal finance reporter, Miss Elena Gafopoulou, live from Washington. Missy, great to have you back on the show today. Now that the Democrats have won the Senate, what will the party's legislative priorities be as soon as President-elect Biden, I'm still getting used to saying that, as soon as President-elect Biden takes office?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I mean, obviously, we are dealing with a lot of, the administration is dealing with a lot of, things right now, given what's happening in Washington. But as soon as all of that is over and Biden sort of enters the White House, he has signaled that he has one clear priority, and that is dealing with the virus, both on a health level, but also obviously on a financial level, and sort of dealing with the fallout, the economic fallout of the coronavirus. And so that means he's going to try to figure out a way to get a next round of stimulus into Congress and sort of put money directly into people's wallets. And of course, we remember that Democrats had fought for a $2,000 stimulus check. And now with the Democratic majority in the Senate following the Georgia runoff, we expect to sort of see that become the first priority. And it's not just Biden who has said that's something that will happen immediately. It's also Chuck Schumer, who is going to replace Mitch McConnell as Senate Majority Leader now. And so the question is, how fast is this going to happen? And that's sort of like the tricky part here. The fastest way for Democrats to pass a $2,000 stimulus check would be to bring that bill to the Senate floor for a vote. But, the bill would basically need support from 60 senators, not 51, which is the majority that the Democrats would have, along with Vice President Kamala Harris, who would have the sort of tie-breaking vote. They would need 60 senators in order to bypass the filibuster. And some Republicans have already publicly signaled that they would be on board for $2,000 stimulus checks after President Trump endorsed the idea. And so that's something that we might see, pretty quickly.
Okay, so it's not just stimulus checks when it comes to the Biden agenda. What about tax policy changes and President-elect Biden's promise to raise taxes on those here in the country who are earning the most?
Right. So that is probably one of the next priorities for the Biden administration. He's really vowed to make sure he sort of reshapes taxes, and that includes increasing income taxes, capital gains taxes, and payroll taxes for people making more than $400,000 a year. He's also vowed to increase taxes for corporations, but one thing he's also promised to do is to repeal Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which might really affect some middle-class earners who benefited from that bill. The tricky part for Biden here is to sort of get those 60 votes in the Senate in order to pass this bill. And so he would really need about 9 Republicans to jump on board. And that's not really likely to happen because they would probably back tax cuts, not tax hikes. But one sort of loophole that Biden has to go against the filibuster is the budget reconciliation. And that is sort of this process that allows, the expedited sort of consideration of certain legislations. And that's what the GOP used in 2017 to pass Trump's tax law. And so that might be one tool in Biden's toolbox to sort of make sure he sticks his promises on taxes.
In your recent piece that goes over all these legislative items on the agenda here for the president-elect, you cite a tax foundation estimate about changes that the tax code could see. For those people who are in the 90th to 95th percentile in terms of earners, they would only see their after-tax incomes reduced by 0.2%, Missy. Who's going to be most affected by this?
Right. I mean, the Biden admin, as he was campaigning for the White House, he had made clear that his administration would target the wealthy and the big corporations. And so middle-class earners aren't necessarily going to see a big sort of change in their after-tax income. There are, however, a couple of things that they should keep in mind. One is, again, as we mentioned, that Biden, is going to try to repeal the tax act that Trump passed in 2017, and that did provide a few sort of tax breaks for middle-class families. And so if that's repealed, a lot of these folks should sort of remember that they might go to their after-tax incomes before that 2017 legislation passed. That's one thing. Another thing is, we saw a lot of people join the stock market this year.
Yeah.
A lot of retail investors. Those people should sort of try to figure out what the tax on capital gains would be if that were to come into place, because that would surely affect them.
And as you note, though, that capital gains changes that the president-elect has called for would only apply to those who make more than $1 million a year, which is likely not many of those in the Robinhood crew, right?
Definitely not. But I mean, if you are one of those Tesla investors, you never know. But yes, again, you're right. It would be above $1 million.
Bloomberg News' personal finance reporter, Mr. Lena Agafopoulou, live from Washington. Missy, always great to have you on the show. Thanks so much for your time.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.